So you need three things to cause muscle growth: a stimulus, a signal, and a substrate. A stimulus is going to be lifting weights. This is going to be lifting weights hard, heavy, close to failure. So this is enough volume, enough frequency, enough intensity, enough effort, enough RPE, actually pushing the weights and progressively overloading. That is going to be the key to cause stimulus. How often do you see someone who's jacked and doesn't lift weights? Not very often. Stimulus is absolutely crucial. Now, we can split stimulus into three separate parts. The first is going to be muscle damage. Now, the jury is sort of still out on this. We don't actually know if muscle damage causes muscle growth, but it is certainly related. And if you're not getting any muscle damage ever, you are probably training suboptimally. If you're training with the right exercises, with enough volume, enough intensity, and progressively overloading, muscle damage is going to be something that happens. But it is probably not an actual cause of muscle growth. So if you run a downhill marathon, your legs, your quads are going to be messed up. But it's not going to give you any growth. In fact, you might lose muscle from running a marathon. So muscle damage is not always muscle growth. All right, the next one is going to be tension. So tension is the biggest part of stimulating muscle growth. Now, how do you put more tension across a muscle? There are a few different ways. The first is using progressively heavier weights. If you squat 60 kilos, you probably aren't going to have big legs. And if you're squatting 60 kilos in a year from now, your legs will probably be about the same size. So progressive tension overload and just progressively overloading in general is absolutely crucial. Second, make sure you're choosing the right exercises. A lot of machines aren't going to be that good. You're going to want to go with the biggest and best exercises. Focus on those. They'll give you the most bang for your buck. Another one is going to be mind-muscle connection. This is a real thing. It's been studied. And if you focus on the muscle that you are using, you can get more activation and more tension in the muscle. The third factor is going to be metabolic stress. So this is when you have a high rep set, you get that burning feeling, that aching feeling, you want to stop going because it's not a super heavy weight, but you're just so fatigued. Now, this can independently cause hypertrophy, muscle growth, but it can also cause more tension. So if you are very fatigued, you're going to go from recruiting just your weak muscle fibers to recruiting all of your muscle fibers due to that fatigue. So if you use 50% of your bench press, your max, and you do 5 reps, that's not going to cause muscle growth. But if you do like 40 reps and it's very close to failure and you're pushing and you're pushing and you're pushing and the bar isn't going very fast, that is going to trigger hypertrophy for sure. So in practical terms, make sure you're doing enough volume. This could be 1 set for some people. This could be 8 sets for another person. Just experiment. See how much volume you need in your training. You should have sufficient intensity, sufficient weight on the bar, and you should be trying to increase this over time. You need to have enough frequency. Just training once a week per muscle group might not be ideal for muscle growth. RPE, rating of perceived exertion. You need to be pushing it. You need to be working harder than last time. You need to be working harder than you think you should. Most people, it's not because they don't spend enough time in the gym. It's because they train not very hard. They don't go anywhere close to failure. They've never sniffed failure in their life. And that's why they don't get good results. So you need to be pushing your sets. Make sure you have good technique, but push your sets. All right, now that you've stimulated muscle growth, you need to have a signal. So a signal is going to be hormonal. If you are working out hard, but you are not sleeping at all or not sleeping enough, you are not going to gain muscle. So hormones, the endocrine system, is very, very important. So this means not stressing. This means getting in enough carbs, enough fat in your diet. How much is enough? It depends. It varies. I don't know you, but you need to experiment and see how much food you need, how much sleep you need, how much stress can you tolerate before it impacts your gains. Everyone is different, but hormones absolutely matter. So the signal is important. And this is part of the reason why testosterone and other steroids are very popular, because they take this equation out of the picture. You can just artificially manipulate your testosterone super high and you don't have to worry about producing it naturally. So this can be a big limiting factor for some people. I'm not saying go take steroids, but just know that it's a factor. It's important. And the last one is going to be a substrate. This is something to actually build the muscle. Even if you're getting plenty of sleep and a stimulus, if you're not eating enough protein, you will not grow. So getting in enough protein spaced throughout the day is very important. How much? I would say about 1.6 grams per kilogram, or roughly 0.73 grams per pound. That is what I generally recommend. You can go higher if you want, but it's not really needed when it comes to muscle growth. So typically I recommend 3 to 5 meals per day with 20 to 40 grams of protein per meal. It's going to vary based on how big you are and how much protein you need, but that's a good general range to be in. Getting protein isn't enough. You need the other factors. If you don't lift weights and you just eat a ton of protein, you're not going to gain muscle. So to gain optimally, you do need all three of these. You don't need all three to gain lean mass. Teenagers going through puberty, they gain lean body mass without any training at all. So this just shows how important genetics and hormones are. All right, that's all for today. Let me know if you have any questions below. Happy to answer. This is a fairly complex topic. I try to make it as simple as possible, so there are definitely layers of complexity beneath the surface. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel and notifications on, etc. And I will see you next time. Peace.